You're watching the Rollerson Broadcasting Network. This show is brought to you by
Hello, I'm Victor Grimes with Leon Rollerson Productions. I want to share with you the history, a little bit more of the history of the Tulsa Fire Department. I have with me Cladella Evans Stearns.
Yes.
And she is the first black female to be hired by the Tulsa Fire Department.
Yes.
So tell me, what was your hire date?
April 1st, 2001.
2001. So that's a long time before we had a black female in the Tulsa Fire Department.
Yes, yes.
At our last hit show, we had descendants of the first six, and Cladella is as well. Her uncle, Merrill Stripling, was one of the first six to be hired in 1956. And then her dad, which was actually a big influence in my life, was on the job as well.
Yes, he was hired in 1972.
In 1972.
Yes,
And he's gone now.
yes.
So, but he was a great guy. He was a driver when I met him, and then he made captain, worked at the training center as a training officer.
Yes.
And everybody loved Big Joe.
Yes. Those are some big shoes to fill.
They are.
It took me a while to accept being the first African American or black female firefighter. Being an athlete, you have this humbling mentality about yourself. The athletes we see today, it's about me. It's one of those. But being an athlete back in the 80s, it was, okay, I played basketball, I did a job, and that's what I did. Next game, going to college, I played a game, did a job, won and lost. It was that. But being in a position where now I'm having to speak about being the first black female, that was something that I had to learn how to do.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell people. My parents told people. My kids told people.
Yeah.
But I had to learn how to embrace being the first black woman, and
That role.
the role. And I understood what it carried with it. I was really quiet about it, but I was proud of the fact that I was the first one, but I just didn't know how to handle it.
Sure. So, besides your dad, who was the most influential person for you on the fire department?
Okay, I'm glad you said the fire department, because I was gonna say my mom, because it's hard to be a wife of a firefighter.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to be a spouse of a firefighter.
Yeah.
It's as if my mom was on the job with my dad.
Yeah.
But the other firefighter, there's so many. I would say Kevin Matthews,
Mhm.
former chief, now Senator.
Now State Senator Matthews.
Ronaldo Works,
Mhm.
the Stevens brothers who just interviewed, my Uncle James, Big Daddy Walker.
Yeah.
So growing up, being a child of a firefighter, great niece of a firefighter, there were so many men on the job whom I just looked up to them.
Mhm.
And some of those guys were still on the job when I actually got on the job, and they still did what they did my whole life. We're gonna take care of you
Yeah.
until we retire.
Right.
And so I looked up to them for that. If I had a question, I asked that question.
Mhm.
Okay, this is what's going on, and they were there to answer it. Oh, and then I left off one person. You.
Okay.
You are somebody that meant a lot to me. And I used to tell people when I got on the job, I was like, man, I knew Victor when I was a little kid.
Mhm.
It's like he's always wanted to be a firefighter, and he never gave up. He went to Texas and then came back and got on the fire department. So I looked up to your drive, how you weren't gonna let the door get shut in your face, and you still did it. And so as a woman, that means a lot, because there were no women like me. There were women on the job, I want to say there were 2 or 3. They were on the job, but I didn't really know them, but I knew you.
What advice would you give for the next generation of firefighters, female or otherwise?
Don't blow off school, I will tell you that much. School is very important. And having the right attitude. We live in a day and time now where to be negative is what people want from you. But you can't have a negative attitude and be a firefighter. Because you can't go into someone's house with a negative attitude. You're going into this person's house who needs you. So to work on the attitude, one of the things that one of my captains said, he was like, you have very good bedside manner. And he was like, if you don't mind, we'll do the CPR. We'll do all the medical stuff. But I need you to talk to the family.
Yeah.
Because I get real sharp. I'll get short with them. He was like, and so I would say just having the understanding that that could be your mom or dad. That could be your brother, sister, your child. And having the right attitude when you go in. And just knowing that you're gonna be faced, because I heard you guys earlier, you're gonna be faced with some things. And over time, you develop a tough skin. I actually saw my first fatality before I became a firefighter. And my dad, we were going to a basketball game, there was a car wreck. And I was saying, Dad, we gotta stop, you have a duty, you know. He was like, no, we don't. He was like, I'm not on duty. I was like, no, Dad, you have to stop. But my child was in the car, so I didn't understand. He was concerned about my child seeing it. And I was like, Dad, we have to stop. The lady was deceased on arrival. The young man was trapped in the car. So they had to call out the jaws of life. So my dad said, I'm gonna need you to talk to the young lady on the side of the car and explain to her what's going on. So and he told me, he walked me through it, talked me through it, and then he whispered in my ear, the lady on the ground, she's already deceased. And he said, the young man, because we don't have the equipment now, when we lift this car off of him, he's gonna have a few seconds and then he's gonna pass. And so I had a better understanding of that. And new employees, they need that. That you need to understand, you're gonna see death, but you're gonna also see life. I've seen babies born, and that's a good thing. And just preparing yourself for the daily or the weekly task of being a firefighter. But I would go back to saying, do well in school, you know, and then have a good attitude, have a great work ethic. Me being, the reason why I harp on good attitude, being the first Black female firefighter, I ran into some challenges. So I had to look at life differently. It could be, I can let you make me mad, I can curse you out, and I can go down to the chief. And I could be facing termination. Or I can pray. I can get in my word. I'm a Bible believer. So I can get in my word and pray and ask God to fight this battle for me and show me how to have a good attitude and how to deal with you on a different level.
I had a guy that we used to sit up, we'd get up early in the morning and drink coffee and solve the world's problems and talk about different things. And he would always say, I choose joy, you know.
Yes.
Because, you know, like you said, we see a lot of stuff. One of my roles now is the program leader for the peer support team.
Oh, wow.
And so we are trying to take better care of each other, make sure that we take, you know, good care of ourselves, just because we see so much, and you know, and then we have real life going on as well, you know,
Yes.
When we're not at the station, and so we are trying to do a better job of, you know.
I like the peer support. I like the peer support team.
Yeah.
I think that was something new when I first came on the job, and having a counseling background, then that was something important for me.
Yeah.
And we saw a very gruesome car wreck. And the older guys were watching me to see how I was gonna handle it. So that peer support And because they wanted to be able to say, hey, if you need some assistance,
Mhm.
we need to call somebody to tell them, we just ran into this incident and we don't know if she's handling it right. And for me, I didn't really need that peer support, but I was grateful that the guys came by and they checked on me, said, Cordella, how you doing?
Yeah.
How are you doing? You know, one guy said, I've never seen this in the 20 years that I've been on a job. And I'm going, are you serious?
Yeah.
And he was like, but you're talking. He said, because you're talking, that lets us know that you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
What they didn't know was I called my dad.
Mhm.
As soon as I got back to the
Yeah,
station,
yeah.
I called my dad. I was like, Dad, all I smell is blood.
Mhm.
I said, I feel like it's on my body. He was like, take a shower,
Yeah.
get you some rest so you can be prepared for the next
Mhm.
run, just in case. He said, and when you get home, I'm gonna need you to take another shower.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna eat and we're gonna talk about it at the
Mhm.
table.
Mhm.
And so that peer support is very
It's
important.
absolutely vital. Because it's real easy to get caught up if you don't, handle those kinds of calls. So, tell me about a favorite memory.
This is funny, but a favorite memory of mine is when I was learning to drive the truck.
Mhm. That's good. Anything else you want to share before we go?
No, I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing this.
Mhm.
Hopefully more young women. I work at Tulsa Job Corps now, and a lady that's working there now, she said, I saw you, I met you,
Mm-hmm.
and I tried. She said, I just couldn't pass that test.
Yeah.
She said, but keep doing what you're doing. So when Mr. Rollerson does things like this, for you to come out and do this, there are people really paying attention. And so the more we get it out, when we drive down the street and we see, I almost call him AP. Anthony, yes. I'm sorry about the nickname, but when we see what Anthony Payne is doing
Mhm.
to advertise, showing that there are women on the job, there are Hispanics on the job, there are men on the job of different races.
Mhm.
And so to advertise it and to have this where people can say, hey, wait a minute, I can do that. When people see me, I'm 5'6" and a half.
Yeah, and that's important. I know that, not that long ago, I had a kid that came up and didn't realize that it was something that we could do,
Right,
And so for them to see somebody that looks like us,
right.
I think it's important.
Right, and I just think that's important. I mean, when they see me, you're a tiny woman, and I'm like, no, I'm actually strong.
Mhm.
You're a tiny woman. I was like, the one thing about women, we think it through.
Yeah.
We don't just run in there and do it. We'll sit and figure it out. What's the easiest way for me to do this? And we add that to the program.
Well, there's something for everybody.
Right,
There's dimensions that, there's needs for all kinds of people.
right,
So we're trying to hire on the job to reflect the diversity of our
The
city.
diversity.
We're trying to do a better job of that, because people are gonna relate to all kinds of different people, and we serve all kinds of different people, and so we should all be represented, so.
yes. But that's all that I can think of.
Well, great, I appreciate sharing with me today.
I love you doing the interview for me today.
Thanks.
So no, you really truly are my big brother, and
Always.
It's like when my brother left to go to North Carolina, I still had you and Lona here
Yeah.
to step in with my brother being absent.
Yeah.
When my dad passed, I had you and Lo here to be there.
Yeah.
I could cry on your shoulder when I
Mhm.
wouldn't cry on anybody else's shoulder.
Yeah.
And for you guys to say things to me that nobody else knew.
Mhm.
And so I love the fact
Yeah.
that you're doing my name.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Well, thanks again.
you're welcome.
I'm Victor Grimes with Leon Roth Production. Thanks for watching.
This show is brought to you by
Hello, I'm Tara Smith. Thank you for joining us on the Leon Rollerson Show. Today with me as a guest, I have Miss Stormy Bradley.
Hello, how you doing?
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Yes, it's a pleasure.
Yes, well, we have an author today on set.
Yes.
Yes, published work author. I am an aspiring author, but we have one that has published work today. And so we're going to talk about your book, but for a quick second, I want the people to get to know you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. My name is Stormy Bradley. I was born and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've written most of my life as far back as the 5th grade, as I remember, and I had never done anything with it at all. But as I got older and my kids got grown, they encouraged me that this was something that I should probably look into. So I went on and took the time out to sit down and write it. My son that's in LA told me that if I would do it, he would back me. So I sat down at that computer and I typed for, 2 months straight. I mean, I would wake up in the middle of the night. If I had anything on my mind, I would go and express it. If I, was out in the store and I had a piece of paper with me, I would write something down. The book is actually fiction. It's actually a fiction book, but I was also told that no book is ever completely fiction. Because if you are a good writer, you're going to pull it from different parts of your life or someone else's life that you know about. So I got it done. My son backed me, and now we're in the process of trying to get it out there to people.
Absolutely fantastic. Tell me about your inspirations. I know you talked about your children. We talked about your children a little bit earlier, but I know you also mentioned your mom. Tell me how your mom inspired you.
My mom was my rock. She was my very best friend, and she encouraged me over and over again. As she read my work, she would say, "Oh, Stormy, that's really good,"
Right.
Mm-hmm. And of course, that's your mother, so you're thinking she just,
right.
She's not gonna find anything wrong with you. But as the years went by, other people started giving me the same feedback, and in 2004, she passed away. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I kind of went into a slump a little bit and just kind of had a setback.
I understand.
And it took me a little minute to get myself together, but then my kids, and since then I had grandbabies, and things just started changing for me. Mm-hmm. And she's really actually the inspiration behind it all.
Right.
The start of it, before the kids was born, she's actually the inspiration behind it all. Okay. And I'm sure she's proud of me right now.
I know she's proud of you. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so 2 months straight.
Yes, ma'am.
that's pretty serious. I did about 3 days straight before I about lost it. But I could see your determination from talking.
Well, a lot of authors that I talk to say, "Oh, I worked on my book for a year."
Right.
It took me 2 years, and I was thinking, well, did I spend enough time?
Right.
But the people who I've gotten it out to says that once they started, they can't put it down.
Right. And it's about what's in here. And so if you manage to get all of it in here, then whether or not it took 1 week, 2 months, or 2 years, then it's a very good book. So while we're talking about the book, the name of your book is Rain, Rain, Go Away. Mm-hmm. All right. What does that mean? Tell me about the book.
Okay. Actually, the rain in the book symbolizes trial and tribulations. Mm-hmm. And actually, you're saying, go away.
That makes sense.
Trial, tribulation, go away.
Go away.
So it's actually based on a little girl who's about 9 years old. Mm-hmm. Basically left to raise herself because her mother is addicted to drugs. Mm-hmm. And she wants to take up with this neighbor. Okay. But the neighbor doesn't have any kids. She's a loner. She works all the time, and that's what she does. And at one point, the little girl touches the neighbor's heart. And at that point, what happens is the little girl actually reunite a family, an entire family. Wow. That she's not even related to. But because of the situation with the 9-year-old, other things had to happen into the neighbor's life.
Right.
Like she had to go back and she had to mend some relationships.
Right.
She didn't feel comfortable helping this little girl when she actually had a little girl
Okay.
that she had given up at birth. So in order for her to do this, she had to revisit her past 10 years prior.
That's beautiful. Mending relationships,
Exactly.
healing some relationships in your life. I completely understand that. I really do. Okay, so for those of us who want to get a hold of this book and are not currently holding the copy that I'm holding, how do they get a hold of your book?
Okay, you can actually find it on Barnes and Nobles. It's also in ebook form.
Okay.
Okay, and I have a personal, a production email address is Purple Rain Drops Production at Cox.net.
Okay.
I also have a business phone number.
Okay.
You can reach me at 918-596-8174.
Okay.
And, I've got them in a couple little small, bookstores and stuff. So
Find it.
find it.
Find it.
Buy it.
Find it. Buy it. There we go. Find
Actually,
it.
it's $15 a copy.
Okay.
And
I look forward. And then I know we talked a little bit earlier about it. This is the first book in an installment of 3.
yes.
So you need to be getting your book now so that we can encourage her to write a little bit faster. Because if she can do 1 in 2 months. Thank you so much for joining us, Stormy. I look forward to reading your book. I have an ebook reader, so
Thank
I will
you.
be downloading that. And we will be talking to you again soon, and we look forward to many more. Okay?
It's nice meeting you.
It's nice meeting you too. I'm Tara Smith. This is Stormy Bradley. Thank you for joining us on the Leon Rollerson Show.
This show is brought to you by
to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, do them.